talk about an American story of gratitude. Maybe that's one of the reasons we're in Vietnam. I want to tell you that I was very fortunate to survive. I was based in Vinh Long, down in the Mekong Delta. And 54 years ago today, I earned my third Purple Heart. I was shot down near the U-Min Forest, and they got me out, and I had some wonderful medical care. Our doctors and nurses, they saved a lot of lives, both mentally and emotionally. My down date was November 11th. Coincidentally, our keynote speaker, who I have the privilege of introducing, went down over Laos in a Phantom F4J on November 22, 1969. Pretty close in time. We both had finished in college in '67. His activity on that particular day, flying off the Connie, was to bomb some targets in Laos. That was an extraordinarily dangerous mission because Laos was a black hole. In fact, over 600 Americans, MIA and KIA, were down in Laos. You didn't have the support there that you could get readily available. Our guest keynote speaker wrote a book, Patriot, Prisoner, Survivor. At that time, he was Lieutenant JG in Vietnam. Henry James Bettinger retired as a commander, United States Navy. I learned a lot reading this book. There's a story here that you don't see in other POW written books, and there are a lot of those written. Let me read from one page, page 49, to give the setting. They're in this Phantom. They're doing precise bombing targets. The only trouble I saw was that it looked like we were going straight down when he rolled wings level, and my quick check of the attitude indicator showed that we were in an 80-degree dive. You're too steep, 80 degrees nose down, pull up. The pilot replied, we've been hit in the tail. I've got no horizontal stabilizer control. A second later, passing 8,000 feet above sea level, with some mountains 3,000 feet high, and with airspeed less than 200 knots, the pilot ordered ejection. I pulled the face curtain handle on the top of the seat that basically pulls a curtain over the occupant's face to protect from wind blast. I heard the bang, and I passed out momentarily from the force of the ejection, and I was in that instant on my way to a new journey. The mission changed in just seconds, and little did I know then what was ahead of me. But life was one thing that would continue. I am forever grateful to my pilot for instantly recognizing his loss of control of our aircraft and ordering me to eject. He saved our lives, and then the rest of us left for divine intervention. It is an amazing story because they forced him to go to North Vietnam 16 days it took. Most of the time he was heavily bound, so his hands turned purple. He survived. He got to that infamous hotel we refer to as the Hanoi Hilton, and he was treated special. In fact, those people that were able to get to the Hanoi Hilton alive, and there weren't many, they were treated very differently. They got some special treatment because they were prisoners of the Pathet Royal. They were not prisoners of the North Vietnamese. they were not even kept on the POW list. Back in '72, when the negotiations were ongoing in Paris, they weren't on the list. But because of the integrity and the courage of the people within and the leadership within the POW camps in Hanoi, they tapped codes and they communicated with notes whenever they could, and they got punished for doing it. Horrible punishment. One great American by the name of John McCain was right next door to him, and he covered for him and his roommate on one occasion when they were trying to create notes to pass. And McCain took the beatings. That's an American hero. What he did was he survived in a courageous way. He followed the code of conduct to a T. Now, what I'm about to tell you, you probably have never heard in an introduction before, but knowing Jim's story, I can tell you he's a real Lulu. Now, before any of you leave, let me share with you that Lulu had a special meaning among all those POWs at the Hanoi Hilton. These select few were known as the legendary Union of Laotian Unfortunates. And they were highly respected. As the negotiations were going on in late November, December of '72, the North Vietnamese said, we aren't returning the POWs until you guys get your butts out of South Vietnam. And of course, they backed away from returning POWs, did not have a complete list. And to the credit of Nixon and Kissinger, they said, no, that's not going to happen. And President Nixon ordered B-52 bomb strikes on targets in Hanoi that had never ever been hit during that entire war. Central Hanoi, where they had SAM sites and military targets in with the population. And from approximately 12 days in a row, waves and waves of B-52s hit all around, and the POWs knew something was happening, and they actually saw a B-52 coming out of the sky that had been hit. But they knew the message was getting through. And the North Vietnamese came back to the table. Fast forward now, the POWs are coming home. Guess what? In February, March, those captured in Laos aren't on the list. Because the North Vietnamese said, well, we're still fighting with our buddies, the Pathet Lao in Laos, and that war isn't over. And these folks are really the prisoners of the communists in Laos, so they're not under our control. And again, Kissinger and Nixon said, through generals that met, that's not happening. We know who they are. And finally, in March of '73, the Pathet Lao had signed a document. It was turned over to the Americans in control of the exchange. And 10 people, 1 Canadian and 9 Americans, captured in Laos, ending up in Hanoi Hilton, were authorized to depart. So the Lulus got to come home. God bless them. They were told by other POWs, if you don't come home, we're going to the White House and we're going to get you home. So I'm honored to share with you a great man. He received the Legion of Valor, Legion of Merit with Valor, with the V device for Valor, the Bronze Star with V device, Air Combat Medal with V device, 2 Purple Hearts, and several other awards that he received. His wife was waiting for him when he came home. God bless her. She hung in there. They're still married. 2 sons. And he stayed in the Navy 24 years, retired as a commander, a naval aviator, a patriot, a prisoner of war, a survivor, a Vietnam veteran, and a true hero. Jim.